I was reading this morning in one of the emails I get about Jewish news that over the course of 103 years, from 1920 to the last spring, there have been 360 North Americans who fell in battle, who were killed in terror attacks for the sake of the state of Israel. Why are we even thinking about this? Why are we describing this? Because Monday is Yom HaZikaron, and Tuesday is Yom HaAtzmaut. Yom HaZikaron, the day of memory or Memorial Day, where all of the names of all of the people who died for the sake of the state of Israel are commemorated. And then literally less than 24 hours later, as soon as Yom HaZikaron ends, Yom HaAtzmaut begins. But this year especially, I think we as a community, and I know people in the state of Israel, are struggling with what all does that even mean. In case you were curious about those Americans, their names are memorialized on a wall in a pine forest just off of Route 1, highway leading into Jerusalem, beginning with the names of Jacob Tucker and William Sharp, who were killed in the famed Battle of Tel Hai in 1920. And this year, unfortunately, for the first time, a large number of names were added. 77 names of individuals from North America were put on this wall. Those were the ones who died on October 7th. And more names are still going to be added as we determine the fate of the hostages, as individuals are still being named and bodies identified. It is a heartbreaking year for the state of Israel, and frankly, one that challenges all of us as a Jewish community. But I think there's something about the fact that on the heels of Yom HaZikaron, right after, just so we don't sit and wallow into the feeling of victimhood, we get up and we celebrate. What does it mean to be independent? What does it mean to have our own state? What does it mean for the first time in thousands of years to be able to say we're a part of a Jewish state? We are not living in other places. And I'll remind all of us that there was something powerful and beautiful and even miraculous about that state. The fact that there was this amazing moment where Jews from all over the world were able to live out a prayer, one of the prayers that's in fact the 19th blessing in the Amidah, which makes up the core of the Jewish prayer service, which every weekday we pray. And it focuses on the redemption of the Jewish people and ending the diaspora. And even when we say in the mornings the Via Hafta with our tzitzit and we gather all of the corners of it together, we're praying for that end. And that end was finally realized when the state of Israel was founded. Fascinating, though, of course, that the ingathering of exiles, one with modernity, ended the messianic character which it had always been applied to. But when we think about that ingathering, I want us to think about what a miracle that was. There's poetry about that time when they all came together at the founding of the state. When Jews who, outside of having a shared faith of celebrating Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Passover, really didn't recognize each other. They had ceased to speak the same language. They came from parts of the globe where, in some cases, they had more than one wife, and I'm thinking of the Jewish community in Yemen. In other parts, they had experienced tremendous technological advances when they were coming and settling in from Europe. And so other parts brought with them all of their food and ideas from North Africa when they were coming in from Morocco and other countries. And all of these people and all of their caravans and all of their heritage came and created a state which they wrote down the ideals of in the Declaration of Independence. And when I was contemplating this year, more than any other, what does it mean? I went back and reread the Declaration of Independence, a task I haven't actually done in a very long time. And of course, it recognizes the history of the Jewish people, that we came from the land and we were dispersed and we came back. But it also recognizes, and I think it prays for, the idea that within the inhabitants in that land, a land where people had to really form a culture together, they had to describe and discuss the ideals. They strove, and I think in one sense, in this sense, I finally see the Declaration of Independence as an aspirational document. A document that we have yet to fully actualize in the state, but we're striving to get there. One that focuses to ensure complete equality, and I'm quoting from it itself, of social and political rights of all the inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex, that will grant freedom of religious conscience, language, education, and culture, and safeguard all holy places of religion. What a beautiful thing to come together. And I think it's even more aspirational when we think about it in the context of all of the circumstances leading into the Declaration of Independence, when they recognize and again state that we appeal in the very midst of the onslaught launched against us now for months to the Arab inhabitants in the state of Israel to preserve peace and participate in the upbuilding of the state based on full and equal citizenship. There's an understanding of the humanity in everybody, even when they're striving and struggling in the darkness. And again, another aspirational statement, that we extend our hand to all of our neighboring states and to their people in an offer of peace and good neighborliness, and appeal to them to establish bonds of cooperation and mutual help with the sovereign Jewish people settled in its own land. Amazing. Even when they were contemplating and just established, they're trying to create peace in that region. I was also contemplating, when thinking about this year, of victimhood, of increased anti-Semitism, of the destruction of October 7th, of everything that's going on, and what does it mean in light of the upcoming holidays, of a poem by Chaim Nachman Bialik, who was a poet who originated in Eastern Europe and wrote beautiful, eloquent Hebrew prose, and who, on his way to the United States to assist in an appeal to support the state of Israel, wrote this wonderful message. And it said, and he wrote it in Hebrew, and this is the translation: "My deepest thanks for your cordial greetings, and I hope that the new and creative Palestine will not only for its own sake, but for the sake of Judaism as a whole, give us the strength of inspiration to influence our people, not to lose track of its historic development, but to choose the path of light for our own good and that of the generations which will follow." Again, an aspiration. I hope that as we go through all of the aspects of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, that we don't wallow in our victimhood, but we remember to think toward those aspirational goals, that we remember that that is, I think, our highest goal. Even when coming out of pain, we strive for light. Shabbat Shalom.